sections, okay, two sections. We'll have one section covering marketing. We want to understand, as you're going to sell to in your field, you need to understand some aspects in life, in marketing, in selling. We also have another aspect we're going to look at is the agents agreement, the agreement you already have with your principals, who are your bosses. What are your duties? Let me go through the objectives for this session. We have number one, we're going to understand the basic principles regarding the law of agents, as I've just mentioned. We're also going to go through, we're going to appreciate the characteristics of a successful salesperson. Yeah, we're going to also to look at the various methods in prospecting. What would you do in terms of prospecting? What should you look at as you're looking for sales? Where should you go? Where should you concentrate? Where do you have the strength and weakness? We're going also to look at a sales process. It's more like a cycle where you're going to see each step and what you're supposed to do in each step. The importance of identifying a client need is also one of those items that are going to be covered in marketing. And lastly, we're going to look at closing the sale. That is one of very important aspect when you're selling. So many of you guys will go and waste a moment with a client, and in the end, you don't actually close. So yet closing would be very, very easy. Would be very, very, very easy. I see someone has raised their hand. I don't see their name, but please rename your account so that we can know your name, and we'll have questions probably at the end of the session. So let's get into the session.
Yes, Nelson?
Yes, please.
Sorry to interrupt you. Kindly okay. Go ahead and tell us your name. We can help you to rename your account. Yes. Galaxy.
Okay.
Yes, Galaxy, please. What is your name? Yes, Galaxy Grand.
Galaxy Grand Prime. Yeah.
Okay, Nelson, you can proceed.
Okay, I think also the members were not, there were few in a few minutes ago. I think let me also take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Nelson Isubuga. I'm a facilitator today, and you'll be seeing me a few times to come. I'm going to take you through this. For those who have just joined, we have already gone through the question, the recap, and now we've gone through the objectives, and now we're going to jump into the content. So we will have the Q&A at the last. Yes. So I came up with a few terms that we're going to be covering today, and we're just going to define them. Some of them are just going to see them in details after these two slides. We have what we call prospecting, and prospecting a client is very, very important for you guys to understand it. And here we defined it as something, it's a process of identifying a prospective client, people who have the what? People who have the need, or people who can actually buy your products. Your products, I mean, if you're doing life, the products of life, if you're doing general insurance, the cars, the properties that you're going to insure. So this is when you strive to identify them using a various methods. We'll look at them later. We also try to define the approach. The approach is actually divided into two sessions. We have the pre-approach and the approach. Pre-approach, we are gathering information about the client. It's very, very important that before you start to make up for an appointment or meeting this client, you do some research, get to know these people, get to know the client, where they live, what they do, if at all, which ministry, industry they're working in, so that you have an idea of what you need to talk about in your preparation, especially in a presentation stage. We also have a new term called need identification. This is very, very, very important. Many of you or your colleagues who are already in the market, they tend to actually miss out this aspect of need identification. They come with a product, with the policies, the plans from the insurance company, and they just start explaining. Someone just learns like 2 products, and whoever they meet, this is the product they use. So it is very, very important that before you could actually, someone can unmute, you guys can mute. Yeah, you can mute. I see there was some feedback from there. So the need identification is such a very a powerful stage and a very important one, that before you can approach anyone, you need to do what we call need identification. You need to understand what does this client need, not to tailor them already, and you just, every time you just actually posing what you have. So the market can have different aspects, can have a different way of thinking about the life insurance or any policy that you're going to put out there. So we also came up about, we carried out something on presentation. Presentation is also one of our breaking down benefits, the costs. You yourself, you're part of that package, how you present it and how you're going to explain to this client. Yeah, they are part of the presentation. So you see that most of your colleagues tend to lose focus on this point. You've done so much from the beginning. You've identified a client. Now you've actually asked for an appointment. Now it has come to the presentation and things just fail to work out. Yeah. So it's very, very important that we understand it. We're going to explain more when we go to the stages. We also have another aspect or a term which is called objections. This is a common disease for the new agents, new salespeople. New people tend to have issues with the objections. If you happen to go with your colleagues who are already in the market, they will tell you or they will share with you. So it is very, very important that you can prepare a few of them and you go through them. You try to take a moment and try to ask yourself and see how you reply them. Yeah. So you can maybe do a demo with your friend before you go to the client and ask and see how you can actually be able to answer these questions, because the client can ask you, and at that point the client doesn't understand you, doesn't know you, doesn't trust you. So when they ask such question and you seem to not to be organized, yeah, they will actually lose out the interest to buy insurance. Yet these questions are simple. to answer, and you be very straightforward. You don't need to give misleading information so that you make a sale. It is very, very important that you remain very, very accurate, or whatever the company gives, that is what you should reflect to the client. So our last term, we looked at also closing a sale. It's a very, very, very important point. A lot of your guys who are already in the field, they do all these processes. They go through prospecting, they meet the client. Now, when it comes to close the sale, things just jump. And this is where you're supposed to ask a client for sale. You've explained, you've answered all the questions, and this is where you have to pose a question and you ask for a sale. You go through again and explain the benefits. You know, it is very, very important. I've seen most of sales people, they just premiere, they just put out a product and explain, but they are missing out the benefits to the client. How is the product that they're selling is going to benefit the client. So at that point, you need to have your proposal form. You need to have everything. I'll in the stage to come, I will tell you a very interesting story of how someone lost a sale in this very, very stage in a reckless way, and because of not being prepared. So some of these things we're going to see them later in our cycle. So allow me to continue to the next slide. So as I told you, this session we're going to go through different aspects, and one of them was the love agents before we go to marketing. As an agent, you need to understand the relationship that binds you to the principal, and what relationship should you have with your client. So we try to define who is an agent, and right here we're saying an agent is the one who performs actions on behalf of another, called the principal. So in this arrangement, you're going to have three people. Number one at the top there, you're going to have a principal who is your employer, and you're going to be the second person who is the agent, and then the third person who is the client. So when you perform this, we've given you an example. Lisa and Brian have been selling insurance for Prudential in Uganda, and the principal is your insurance company, the company which pays you, the company you signed a policy with, But we can also have independent agents, people who are going to be approached by the client themselves, and they are going to be employed by a client. So in that arrangement, you're still going to be the agent, and the principal will be the client. Yes. So in this relationship, we're going to see three people. Yourself as an agent, the principal, the person, or the employer who pays you, and then the third party, who is the client you're going to meet in the field. So we went ahead and said what could be there has to be a contract which is going to be signed by you, by your principal, and this is an important stage when you're coming on board. Most of you guys will come and say you just want to look at the money. This is the point you're going to look at 4 or 3 or 2 things. Number one, you're going to sign this contract, but a contract will have like 3 aspects. You're going to have the remuneration or commission. That is one of the aspects that you guys are very, very interested in. But it's also important to understand the duties. What are your duties? You can enter into a contract when they tell you to bring 10 deals and you say, yes, yes, I'll do it. Yes, 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 I can manage it. Yeah. It is very, very important that you understand what is entailed in that contract, in the agent's contract. Yeah. So that agency contract is also going to have what we call the period of a contract. Yeah. You've seen that most of you guys who are doing sales, almost every year you have a license that is given out by IRA. Yeah. So some of your contract can be renewed almost every year. So it is very, very important to understand when is your contract expiring? What are your duties? What are the authorities or the authority or power that has been given to you in this kind of arrangement? So it's very, very, very important that you understand it from the beginning when you're onboarding, when you're coming to start or to ask the job. You can actually even take time to negotiate. Yeah, most of these things we just actually give out at once, general, numeric, and if you have time to go through the contract, you can actually negotiate. But this is something you guys miss out. So we're going to look at also 4 ways in which an agent can be created. Number 1, we've seen already agents by agreement. This is where you're going to come on board and sign a document or do it orally and you agree on the terms and you start selling insurance. So we have 4 of them. As they are mentioned here, we have agents by agreement, we have agents by necessity, then we have ratification and operation of the law. There are 4, but you'll find that you have like 2 or 1 which actually relate to our insurance. But for purposes of learning, we'll go through all of them and you understand them, and also for purposes of exam. Yeah. So number 1, we have agents by agreement. This is the most used in our sector. We do it by doing it in writing. We can also do it in you can do it in oral. You've seen in another sector like real estate, there are brokers and agents who sell land, but when you ask them, they have never owned a contract, a written contract. But normally, in most cases, they do agree orally and a contract is formed. Yes. So I've given you an example of Moses as an agent's contract with Jubilee and has been selling since 2012, and they agreed to hire Moses. They agreed to hire Moses and signed agent's contract. So at the end of this session, or when you're coming on board, before you start to sell, you need to have this in your docket. So if you don't have it, now this is the time you start asking, what are my roles? What are my duties? What are my powers? And what is the period that I've been hired? What is the period that I'm going to be selling this? When is my contract expiring? This is very, very important. One of the advantages of taking this course, we take you through the things you're actually experiencing on every day. Yeah. If you've not looked at agents agreement before you onboarded, this is the time you're going to go back and ask them that I understand the relationship. Before I could start selling, I need to understand what powers do I have, what period am I running, and what are my duties? 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 What are my duties it is very, very important to understand outside. We have a second one called the agents by necessity. Agents by necessity arise where a contract party represents another person to make a decision in an emergency. There has to be an emergency. Excuse me. There has to be an emergency that is going to escalate or leads to a formation of agents by necessity. I'll give you an example. Someone is not already been officially been given a right or an agreement yet to start selling, but because of an emergency that has happened, someone is actually later someone becomes an agent. So I'll give an example. If I told you coming from Masaka, your transport of goods, you have your tomatoes that you're transporting, and you bring them to Kampala. Along the way in Lukaya, Masaka, something happens to your vehicle, and you happen not to find any means to bring the goods to Kampala. So in that kind of scenario, you have no way to communicate to the agent, I mean to your principal. Yes, at that very moment, it is an emergency that if you take time to fix your car, the tomatoes will actually start to rot and the principal is going to lose out. That is when you happen to start now thinking, how about I sell them? How about I find a way to preserve them? Yet you are not given that right from the beginning. Your work was actually to transport it to Kampala, but not to do anything with it. So this has some features, and two of them we've already mentioned. There has, in this transaction or in this relationship, you have to have no ways to contact the principal. But in this era, how can this happen? Because we have so much ways to communicate. We have WhatsApp, we have Facebook, we have messages. Yes, there's so many ways you can reach out to the principal. But in this thing to happen, there must be no practical ways to reach out to the principal. Number two is the agent must be, this agent must actually result from an emergency. From the example we've given, someone is not actually, the car is actually broken down and he has no ways to transport these goods. So that is that kind of emergency that creates this agency. We have the third one, that you as an agent, you must act in good faith in the interest of the principal. Not that you've seen a way the car is broken down and you've gotten a chance to make a profit off the client's goods, and in using your wisdom and your knowledge, you happen to sell them and make a profit. Everything you're supposed to do, you're doing here, should be in the interest of the principal, not yourself. Number last, you must act also in a reasonable manner and in a prudent way in all that circumstance. Everything you're supposed to do, it should be right and according to your profession, not to do something that is out of line. Another, or our third agent ways of creating the agents, we have the agents by ratification. Agents by ratification simply means that from the beginning, there is no arrangement. They have not still authorized you to do there is no agreement at all, but because of the things you've actually, the relationship you've had with the client, this happen to, you happen to do something and later the agent, the principal accepts. So at this moment, the activity has to happen first. Then later, the agent, the principal will accept, and accepting, he accepts the whole contract from the beginning. So one of the essentials for this or characteristics that are supposed to be in place, the principal has to know everything that is pertaining this arrangement. Because remember, the activity has to happen first. Then later, the principal accepts. So they need to understand everything from A to Z, A to Z. So that they can actually know what they are getting into. Yeah. We also try to give another another way of creating an agency is by operation of the law, and this is normally seen in partnerships where you see Lule and Sebaru advocate. Each of those two people can get into, or Lumara and Sale happening to open up an partnership, and each of them represent the other, and they have almost the same, they have the same right and power. So this kind of relationship, if you happen to form a partnership between two people or more, each of them would have the same right as the other. So you kind of, when you go out there, you kind of represent the other. This can also happen in employment. You see people, you're an employer and you're given a job to a given person, and every day they come to work, they are representing you as a principal. Yeah. So those are some of the ways we can create the agents. There are actually 4. We have number 1, by agreement. This is where you normally have those sessions before you could actually start selling, and they give you a contract, either in written or oral, and stipulates all the duties, the rights. And number 2, by necessity. Something happens out of an emergency, you happen to help out. Then number 3 is by ratification. The activity has to first happen, and later the principal accepts the entire contract. And we've seen that one of the things that are very, very important to note here, that the principal accepts the whole contract. There is nothing like I accept where I've gotten the money. Everything for A to Z. So it is very, very important that you explain everything from the beginning to the end, so that the principal can accept and take full responsibility. So our second item, we're going to look at the duties of an agent. This is a very, very interesting thing in law agency. A lot of you guys go and start doing sales, start making meeting clients, but you don't know what are your roles. Yeah, this is one of the questions we've been asking in exams, and people would give funny answers. Someone tells you, I call the client. My duty, I call the client. I call him, we meet. So I explain to him, I buy him a drink. Then we sit down, I fill for him a proposal form. Then he signs and I take it back to office. All those things would be would be belonging to reasonable care and skill. So you see someone missing out almost 5 marks by giving just general duties. I mean, generic duties. So there are only 5 duties of an agent. So you need to understand them properly. So we're going to start with obedience. When we say obedience, we're simply saying the agent must obey the principal's instructions. What do I mean? In that contract you're going to take home, you need to understand what are instructions that have been given to you. And you're supposed to do them. But you're supposed to do them when they are lawful and reasonable. So what do I mean by lawful and reasonable? I'll give you an example. If you happen to go for a market activation in, let's say, at Freedom City, and you happen to find a competitor, then your manager tells you that, you know what, we are the people who are supposed to be here first. Now those guys are here, please go and break that tent, put it down. Yes, he has given you an instruction, but is it lawful? Is it reasonable? You're under no obligation to perform any illegal or void activities. So I want you to be clear on that line. You're going to be obedient and you're going to take every instruction that they give you, but that instruction should be lawful and reasonable. You cannot do something that is out of, that is void, that is illegal, something that can take you to prison. Yes? So that is obedience. Number 2, we're going to look at, reasonable care and skill. In this kind of duty, we expect you to exercise the skills of an agent in your profession. If you're a broker, we expect you to do what a broker is expected to do. Yes? So every skill, this is the reason why you guys are here. You're here to get this knowledge and to pass it, to go with it in your field. Yeah. So as you're going to start selling, you need to understand how do you exercise this skill, how do you exercise this knowledge. In the field there, when you meet a client, the client does not know you that you are a junior or a senior. If you're putting on a uniform of Prudential or Jubilee or UAP, they know that you understand things. So it is up to you to understand the product, to understand everything that you're supposed to carry, to understand, because for them, they will not think that you don't know anything. So you're supposed to learn, you're supposed to understand the processes, the procedures, the skills that are needed for you to perform your duty. Yes. Number 3 is personal performance. Personal performance here, the agent is not meant to delegate to sub-agent. I understand you can have your sisters around you, you can have your colleagues around you, and your colleagues can help you, give you leads or prospects, and actually they even know them better than you, but you cannot contract them. You only, remember from the beginning, we said your contract is between you and your employer. You're meant to you're meant to bring the third party, who is the client, on board. As simple as that. When you do that, you're out of that picture. So the contract is just binding between you and the employer. So in that sense, you're not meant to delegate. You're not meant to delegate another sub-agent. So it is very, very important for you. And this happens because most of guys who are doing sales, especially the ones which have just come on board, they kind lack product knowledge. This is very, very important that we're going to look at it in sales. They lack product knowledge. So what happens when they give you to go and sell, you bring your colleague or you tell your colleague to go for you, to represent you. Because for you, you don't know the products. You've seen that where they call you to come and present general insurance, and then you send someone else for you. And in the end, you are going to receive a proposal form that has your name as if you're the one who contracted that person, who brought the person on board. You've seen this in when agents are actually are quoting. Most of you guys, and they take you through the quotations, how to quote, how to come up with a premium. You call your colleague, hey, my friend, you know you're the best in this thing. Can you help me quote for this client? You need to perform everything by yourself, not by any of your friend, by your spouse, or any colleague of yourself. Any colleague that you have that you understand more. So it is very, very important that you get the right skill, know everything, know every product. In any situation where you don't understand, please consult your employer. Yeah. So our fourth duty of an agent is good faith. Good faith is nothing to do with the religion. It is simply a relationship that is a fiduciary one, and which does not allow an agent to act in a way that conflicts the principle, yeah, or conflicts themselves to the principle. So everything you're supposed to do here, you're meant to do it in the principal's interest, not in your interest. Yet you might want to take money or have money in the shortest time possible. But in this, with the good faith as one of our duties, you're not supposed to make security profit or secretive sale or secret commission of some kind. So always disclose. If there's anything you have to disclose to your principal that I've made ABCD and this client gave me this. Some people have also even policies on gift. If they happen to give you a gift, the companies have gift policies where you kind of declare if a gift is given to you and is above a given amount of money. So you have to disclose I know this one is a hard one. You go to a client, you've worked so hard, then you went to a client, you explain to him very well, then you sell him a policy of 500, then he gives you 200,000. And you just, at that moment, you're like, no, this is my time. I want to tell you guys that integrity in this business of life insurance and insurance at large, it is very, very, it is above everything. So at the end of the day, you need to remain focused and not to conflict yourself. If you happen to find yourself in that scenario, you need to ask your employer, in this scenario, what do I do? What do I do? We have our last one, which is the duty to account. A duty to account is you need to account all the monies received by yourself from the principal and you give them to the principal. If you're so lucky that one of our things that have come on board, IRA has prohibited people to be collecting premium in cash. So lucky for you guys, we will not expect you to be walking around with people's cash in your pocket. We don't want to have issues that your student who was here in 2020 and 2 years or 1 year down the road, there is issues. There is that IRA with issues of suppressing premium. This is a very, very big challenge that the industry is facing. And I can tell you, one day you eat this money, it is okay. You may tell yourself tomorrow you return it, the following month, the following year. Time can pass on and that money accumulates and you cannot happen to bring it back. And you know, life insurance policies tend to what? They tend to lapse. Now imagine someone has given you money every month. The guy is hustling so hard to get either 100,000, then they give you, and for you, you find your pocket empty and you happen to use the money and you don't put the money back. Yeah, it is really, really bad, and you cannot, should not expect it from you guys. It is one of your duty to account, but in this kind of arrangement, we only actually, I think, we only expect to give you only checks, reminders, checks, collect those things. Those are the things we should expect. If you're found to happen to be found in that, above that line, you find yourself putting on a yellow uniform. And you know the yellow uniform where they belong. They belong the other side of Luzira. And my friend, that is not what we want to see from you. This is a good professional. So many people have earned from it. A lot have gained from it. So you cannot put your risk to take that small money for now and destroy the future. Yeah, because they will flag you. The whole industry will know that such and such a person ate client money and disappeared. Whenever they see you, they will, you know, integrity is key. So it's very, very important. So those were the only 4 or 5, actually 5 duties of an agent. So when we ask you, those are the ones. We're not talking about you buying a client tea, making him fill a proposal form, greeting him, making calls. Yes, yes, you do them, but they are not the main ones we are looking at. We can bring out maybe when you're explaining some of these points. So good luck enough. I'm not going to see such things if at all that question happens. So after having looked at the agent, and you have your 5 duties, we also have 2 duties only for the principal. And the principal has to pay your agreed commission at agreed rate. Now this comes back to our agreement. In your agreement, what percentage they say? What are the duties? What are the targets do they give you from the beginning? You know, some of you guys will be given the contract and then for you, you don't even read it. You're like, yeah, I've locked it. You take it back, you put it in your wallet, in your bag, and you go home. So at a time when they don't pay you, that is when you say, I want to take these guys to your IRA. It is okay, you can take them, but do you understand the contract? So if you did, and you did what they requested or what you signed in a contract, then they're supposed to remunerate you. They're supposed to give you commission as the contract stipulates. Number 2 is indemnify the agent for their expenses. The principal is meant to indemnify you for any expense that you may incur when you're pursuing a given deal, but provided that it was put in the contract. Don't bring your bills because of agent. The client was there and told you to meet at Serena, so you went there, you had some money, you buy lunch. So you're like, you guy, waiter, bring that receipt. Bring that receipt, I take to these guys, they will pay my money. It is okay, you can collect the receipts, but if that is not put in your contract, you will not be able to be indemnified. So that is why it is very, very, very important that before you onboard, you need to understand what are your duties. Because if you fail to do them, that is when they will not pay you. So unless it is stipulated otherwise, if you have incurred expenses, they will be able to compensate you. So here we go to authorities. Authority, we're going to look at 3. And in those 3, we're looking at before you go to sell, where do you get those powers? Where do you get the authority to do what you're going to do from now? Yeah, after getting this qualification, you're going to be talking to clients, or some of you have already done it. Where did you get that authority? Yeah, was it put in your contract? Yeah, how was it stipulated? So we're going to understand 3 of them. And number 1, we have what we call, actually 2, but number 1, the one which is the number 1, which is the actual authority, is broken into two sections. So actual authority would go straight to the sub ones, which is the actual express authority. Actual express authority, this is when a contract, whenever you see express, everything is put together in the right way, in a contract, in an agreement, orally or written down, that ABCD agent is supposed to do this and this. Yes, that is the actual express authority. Put in writing, put orally, agreed orally, and then you start selling. So you see an example of authority to sell a life assurance after receiving agent's contract. You see, I still go back to the contract. So you guys, you need to take time and understand it. If you have one, you go back home and read it and see what it is entailed in that agreement. So under actual authority, we still also have what we call the implied actual authority. Implied actual authority is this is what is given when they give you authority for express. So this comes along with it. What do I mean? That by the virtue of having the express, you're meant to do the other one. Yeah. So there are things that we will not mention in the contract, but you're meant to do it. I can even we try to give you an example here. You can read, but I can even tell you that your work is to go and bring 2 clients a week. But in that scenario, there are so many things that you're going to that are going to happen. You can happen to make a call, you can happen to book an appointment and also set a reservation somewhere to meet a client. Those are some of the implied that can come along from after having gotten the express. So from the example here, we're seeing John visited the client who are the staff at Civil Aviation in Entebbe, and he phoned management meeting in the process. And one of his clients invited him to make a short presentation. And during this meeting, John answered questions regarding investment, health product and general insurance product, and internal company policies. John was an individual life agent and was not officially trained. You see, someone was in the video, and you can see that he's answering things that are not even in his line. But because he, in the face, is putting on that uniform, is representing the brand. So, and the people out there, they don't know what he is. Oh, they know that he's coming from insurance and he has the right to say all these things. They don't know everything. So you can see that he's explaining even things for the sister company because they asked. So these are some of the things that can come along. So this is something that is not stipulated in your contract from the beginning or from inception, but you carry it along with you. So when you go there and you happen to step out of that line, that is implied actual authority. So our last is apparent authority. So apparent authority is where a principal creates an impression that an agent has authority, but in actual sense, they don't have. I'll give you an example. If you happen to have a contract today and next year you happen to misbehave, God forbid, not from you guys, you happen to misbehave and they terminate you. Along that way, you have quite a number of clients. Some of them, they don't even know that you have been terminated. So they will still contact you as if you're still the agent. In their face, you're still actually their agent. So, and your actions, if the principal does not communicate to the client, your actions are going to bind the principal. So that's why you see by the time they terminate you, they put you in newspaper. That's why you should avoid such things. Put you in a newspaper, you know. Yeah. They put you in a newspapers, they put you on radio, they can even start calling your clients and tell them that according to this and this, your agent, this and this was terminated. So if they don't do that and you happen to act, that is what we call apparent authority. The principal, your employer creates an impression. So by not communicating to them, has created an impression that you're still an agent when you actually been terminated. Yeah. So 3 authorities we've looked at. We've looked at number 1. We've looked at we've looked at actual, and actual we've looked at 2, which is implied and express, and also we looked at the apparent. Yeah. So now we'll go straight to the bad news. When something happens to you, termination of an agent. This can be bad or good for any party. So we're looking at ways in which an agreement can come to an end. Yeah. Termination of an agency. So we're going to look at this. We're going to look at 2 aspects. Number 1, acts of the parties, and number 2, operation of the law. And under the acts of parties, we have what we call agreement. As you're coming on board from inception, you agree, you sit down with the employer and they give you a contract. It is the same way when one of you guys feel in the party, in this relation, feel they are not comfortable, they can still come back and agree to end the contract. This can happen. You've seen this one when you've been given a deal for a given specific time. They give you a deal to sell for or to make a sale, one deal closed. And once you close it, it comes to an end. So we also have another one, revocation by the principal. This is when the principal has the powers to withdraw that, the authority that has given to you. So don't sit there and say that when I get a contract, I have all the powers. And as long as I have this document with me, I cannot be terminated. My friend, the principal can terminate you as long as you do something that is not in a contract and you have no way to redeem yourself. You can go to courts unless you have facts. That is when you can actually come back. But otherwise, they have the right to terminate you, and that makes the end of the contract. Number two, you also, three, you have also the power under renunciation. You can actually also have the authority to end the contract. By doing this, you can actually just sit down in your computer or somewhere and draft a notification that you want to serve notice, and this should be like a 1 month, and in 1 month you're leaving the company. And that time, it's good that they're bringing professionals like you guys, so you guys, you won't just disappear like the most of people I see. They come on board, they give you a contract, you start selling 2, 3, down the road, things get hard, you just duck and disappear. So people don't know where you are, they start calling you, you only appear when they are paying their commission. You're like, you call your friends, did they pay the money? I've not received the message. No, 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 no. That's not the right way. If you wish to happen to leave, you can put it in writing and serve the notice, and that makes the end of the arrangement. So don't say that you're in a relationship. This is not a marriage until death do us apart. If you happen to not to agree, please, you can just write to them and they will accept and move, and you close that deal and move to where you can actually pursue your career best. Because we said we were going to look at 2 ways. Number one, we looked at the acts of the parties, you and your employer. So number two, we have operation of the law. This is something that happens and ends the contract by law. The death of principal or agent, if you happen to die, the relationship cannot be passed to your spouse or your friend. Yeah, it ends there. Insanity of a principal, of an agent or an agent, any of you guys, if happens to become insane, the capacity to contract disappears immediately, and that marks the end of the relationship. We have another one which is called bankruptcy. This is a very interesting one. It gives you easy access to avoid your loans, your debts that are due. Bankruptcy, when someone is filed for bankruptcy, this is a state where you are unable to meet your debts when they are due. So instead of you hiding, avoiding people calls, you can actually file for bankruptcy. But I can tell you, it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost which can actually be lasting forever, because there are some things which you cannot do when you file for bankruptcy. Yeah, even a simple thing like standing for a LC1 seat, my friend, no one will actually take you on. The law will not allow you. Yes, you have escaped your debts, and the court, you have petitioned the court, and the court has actually granted you to be considered bankrupt, and you happen to get free of your debts. But this will come at a cost. So if you happen to file it, or if your principal does it under insolvency or something, that marks the end of the agent's agreement. We have another, our last, which is actually frustration. Frustration comes, this is when the matter which you probably dealing in is destroyed and there is no way to continue. I'll give a simple example. Back in the days, we used to have scratch cards. If you happen to have those scratch cards by now, And scratch cards were actually removed by law, by the way. So anyone who is loading airtime or data has to do it by e-means. So if you happen to have about scratch cards of 1 million, there's no way if you contracted an agent to vendor them or do what, that marks the end of it. There's no way you're going to continue with this arrangement. So now we're going to go back to where was our last session. I think we have like 40 minutes to go, or 30 to go through this very chapter, and then we go to the session of questions. Here we are looking at, we're going to look at sales, marketing, but as you guys are going to go to the field, you need to understand a few things before you start approaching the client. Or if you already been doing it, you need now to start checking what I've been doing. Is it right or wrong? We started with the qualities of a successful salesperson. A salesperson has to have qualities. Qualities they're supposed to possess as a salesperson. Product and service knowledge. If you're going to sell any product in the field, I tell you, you need to understand the product. You need to understand the service proper, because the people you're going to meet, some are knowledgeable, some are very aware. You're going to meet insurance people. A guy will put you on the spot and start calling your manager. Please come and explain to me. Please come and help me. Yeah. So this time of training, after achieving this, you need to find time and go through all the product knowledge. And this includes even your sister company. If you're doing life, try to learn something from Geno. Try to learn how they coach. Try to learn how they present. You cannot reach there and then the client tells you, now, they say, I have also my car. How much could it cost? Then you start calling your manager. The moment you do that, the client is going to lose trust. And at this stage, you are trying to build a relationship. We're trying to build a relationship so that the client can trust us so much. Yeah. So product and service knowledge is very, very key. You need to, if you're doing retail, you need to understand the corporate. What are they? What are the good products that our company are selling? A client can ask you when he has heard something on the news, but you're out, you don't know anything. It's actually very important after achieving this. Every month or week, every day, you can try to read an article about the industry. Try to go to IRA, try to on the website, try to go to your company website, try to go to ITC, ask your colleague, try to be knowledgeable, because when you're knowledgeable, you can actually answer even the simple question that they may ask you. You keep yourself, yeah? You might be concentrating on retail and happen to get, because most of the time, I've gotten some guys who happen to know the MD of a given company. He goes and talks about education, saving, product, and after they sign, they walk away celebrating that they have made it in life. Yet they have missed an opportunity to sell another product of group, another medical, another GPA, yeah, another life assurance product that is group, and you've brought this and you established a good relationship, the client is happy, and all you have to do is to ask, what about this one? Do you have them in place? I can actually also help out. But if you're not, you don't have this knowledge, you don't equip yourself with knowledge, how can you sell? You're only going to go with this one and you celebrate, yet you've missed quite a lot of commission, yeah? And some group policies go for 30 and the client can pay over 100 million. 100 million, if you happen to get a commission of 30%, where would you be, my friend? Very important. Product and service knowledge is important for you guys. Take time, learn them. Take time, ask your colleagues. Take time, ask your employers to take you through. So I see some guys are coming. I don't know whether they are coming. They are coming to learn or. So our second quality of one of the qualities of a successful salesperson, we have interpersonal skills. The skills to relate with people, the skills to know how to talk to people. Yeah. The skills how to speak in public. You're going to be given a presentation and they put you on the spot there. You've gotten a chance. You went to see one client and the HR says, you came to see me. Hey, I have my colleagues here. Actually, we're in a meeting. Come and tell us. Come and tell us. Come and explain your products. And you, my friend, because you're not prepared, yeah, that marks the end of it. You start to freeze, you start to panic, yeah. Communication skills. Communication skills, we talk about how to present yourself, and part of it is knowing how to present yourself. You're also part of that package. How you dress, yeah, how you listen. Yeah, some people think that communication is about you telling what you know from the beginning to the end, and you don't happen to listen to the client. Client are always saying something, pick it and respond, pick it and respond. So communication is two-way and it's very important. So other traits we have empathy, perseverance, yeah, patience. You need to be patient, yeah, because sales sometimes can be hard, can be frustrating. Some people can tend to turn you down and you lose morale. These are some of the things you're going to see in the field. But whatever happens, you need to be strong and continue pushing. Continue pushing. There's so many people who have made it in this professional, and you too are going to make it. So last, we're going to go through the sales cycle, and some of these things we already covered it. We have, we're going to go through it chap. We have prospecting. Prospecting, we already looked at it. Someone looking for clients, looking for people you're going to contact by using various methods. You can use referral, you can use cold canvassing. You've not contacted this person, but you just get the number and then you start calling them, reach them and ask them if you can have an appointment. Yeah, that is prospecting. So we also have approach. Approach, we said it has two stages. You can have a pre-approach and approach. Pre-approach, you get all the information that you need from the client. I mean, you can collect from the client, I mean, for this client, before you can actually reach them, know what they are, know what profession they are, know what product you're looking at that can actually fit this client. Though you have to do this in need identification, you will have to, but you need to find out what possible time can I approach this client. You might be calling a guy who is so busy, and every time he tells you I'm busy, you lose morale and you forget this client. And one person later actually closes this client. But because you didn't understand that this client is a busy person, he has a busy schedule. So even when I call him and tells me I'm busy, you will be able to understand because you did your homework. So under after the pre-approach, there is also approach. Yeah, That is when you start identifying the product, you start approaching the client, you start knowing, you already know the product, you already know the benefits that could be close to what the client may need. And then you go to, you can present them later in the presentation. So the third stage is need identification. This is something that is rarely done here in our market, and we need to improve it. Most of you guys, not you guys, other colleagues come and they come with already tailored product. They just talk to you, tell you what they can offer without listening to what you have. This is a stage where you need to understand what is this client needs. Is he a person who has kids? Does he have insurance for education? Does he have for saving? Does he have all this that, and I'm just giving a duplication. Duplication is very common. People tend to sell products which already exist, and you wonder why are they selling them. Yeah. So if you do your homework and you tend to happen to identify these things as you're talking, you cannot offer a product that is not actually good for the client. That is when you can actually tell them that I've seen you want this, but this one is duplicated. Imagine a client saying, you're telling a client that this one you don't need it, and he was actually proposing it. Yeah. Because now we have scarce resources, and people are seeing insurance as something that is not really essential, even when it is essential. So you need to talk about the needs, something that you actually, what the client need, not what you're pushing out from to the market. So our number 4, we look at the presentation, and in the presentation we say this is part of your packaging, part of your pricing. It includes knowing what the product is actually going to offer to that client, the benefits is going to get out of it, what price, how are you going to present it, what package are you packaged. Yeah. There are some people who lose a sale in this scenario. You present the product, it is so good, and then the client says, bring the proposal form. Oh my God. Then you start opening your bag. There are so many documents, some are just falling down, and you look very disorganized. I'll tell you a story. There's an agent who happened to go to do a presentation. And at that time, they told him that, yes, I've loved this product. You're saying investment, but me, I need saving for my kids. I will go for the saving for my kids. So where are the proposal form? Can I fill this one, this now? Can I pay now on cash? Then the agent says yes. He checks his things, and he found nothing like a proposal form. Then he tells the client, you know what? Let me run to the company. It's very near here, and I collect your proposal form. In that time, in 5 to 10 minutes, that guy went out. There's another agent who came in, branded with the same logo, uniform, and say, I've been calling you for an appointment. So I've come to fill the form to take you through the product. Then the guy, no. We have already done this with your colleague. Actually, we were supposed to fill the other the education. Do you have you're from the same company, right? Yes, yes, I'm from the same company. So let me, do you have the proposal form? Say, yes, I have. Then the agent brings out a proposal form, he fills with a client, and immediately the guy walks away with the deal already explained and just signed. You've seen this happening where agent goes, he explains everything, he even leaves the proposal form with the client. Then only to go back after 3 months, then the client said, I filled that form and it was taken. And I'm already on cover. Now, immediate after filling in the proposal form, the client walks away. I mean, the agent walks away. In that 10 to 15 again minutes, the guy who went to bring the proposal form comes back. He came back and is asking, here I am, I've come back with a proposal form. So let's fill it. He's like, oh, no. We filled this guy, this proposal form with your colleague. He actually went. He's called Henry. Yeah, he went and says you guys are from the same team. So I filled. So in that very moment, you'll break down, I can tell you. But because it is your error, it is you had who had messed up. You had an opportunity to make a sale, but you were not prepared at all. Yeah. So this is how you're going to miss a sale. You've done all the work, but someone else takes a benefit from your effort. So it brought up so many wrangles, so many quarrels between them, but it was because the first agent missed to be prepared as the presentation requires. In the presentation stage, that is what you're supposed to be, which you're supposed to organize before you can actually come for that meeting you've set with a client. So we have another interesting one called handling objection. This is a hard one for new agents. And the more you approach clients, you'll keep up, you'll grasp them, you learn. But these are some of the points where a client is going to put you on the spot, asking you about a policy, asking you about, and some objections are going to be right, which you need to actually admit and acknowledge and move forward. Because at that point, the client is actually very interested in the product. When you see a client asking you questions, they actually, they're actually very interested in the product, but they still have some doubts. So you need to bring them to your side. You need to win them minus mispresenting. That is very, very important. You know, when people want to win a deal, they say, I cannot fail. If I fail, I rather destroy everything. At that point, you need to win the client in the right way, and you still disclose the right information and not to mispresent. Yes. Our second last is closing the sale. I talked about it from the beginning. This is a very, very important stage in sale and a sales cycle. So many people have sold, have explained, and reaching the time of saying, where can we fill? That question doesn't pop up. Where can we sign? That how the client, the client can actually ask you questions which are so related to this. When can I pay? How can I enter? How much premium do I need to have to start? Yeah. At that point, you need actually to pull out a proposal form and start filling with the client. Yes. There's so many people who leave the proposal form to the client and they tell you, I'll fill it at one time. When I get time, I'll fill it. There is no client who is going to fill your proposal form when you're not there. Yeah. It's a lot of work and they will not do it. So you need to close, you need to, after explain, you need to ask for that sale. Yeah. You need to close the sale, and you cannot do it if you don't ask. The client will think that you came and you had was just actually an engagement to let him know about insurance, and that was it. And for the ladies, it can even start bringing so many ideas. If you're going to see a man, you start thinking about other things. So very, very important to keep back to the point and avoid bringing other things. This is not a time to start bringing other things which are not connected to this topic. They ask you already done the sales, then you start bringing bad black stories. That have you seen a bad black was here, he got the money. She got the money and she was actually suing the Ministry of Health. You bring something that are not really related. You need to keep to be on point and stay focused until this sale is done. That is when you can bring other and non-related issues. It is very, very important. So our number last is after sales service. After sales service is that critical as the first one. The first one, you're prospecting. No, if you don't prospect, there are no sales. There are no people you're going to convert into business. So the more you prospect, you get the money. But now, after sales service, you've gone this topic. You've gone through this topic stage and to the end. Then they even produced a document. This is the time you're going to go with the document, explain that document, explain the terms and conditions, the benefits, the riders. We shall talk about the riders in those chapters to come. The riders, the benefits, and remind him or her why he has bought this policy and why he should keep it active, up to date, because when it lapses, the cover is off the cover. That is the time you're going to remind him, if he's happy, to give even referrals. Now imagine a guy who is going to give it to his personal assistant or to the delivery guy. There's a client today at Rwenzori Courts. You go to second floor, give him this document. So he goes and dumps that document there. The client doesn't know what importance that document. Those are clients you find that they have lost their document. They cannot even give you their friends because you missed that stage. They are not even happy, or they don't even understand why they bought it. Clients always forget, and I can tell you, clients will only remember you when they have a problem. So you need to make them understand, make them believe what they have bought. This is as you said in the characteristics, that life insurance is for long term. You need to keep this relationship alive. A guy you sold at 16, today he has 2 kids now. You need to keep the relationship alive. That is the after sales service. So you don't dump and you're like, me, I don't know this condition, I don't know this and always act professional. I've seen ladies hustling with clients. A client tells you when you bring a policy, I will give you a policy when you do ABCD. Then at that time of delivering the policy, you are also meant to deliver something. And in that time, you try to avoid it. They're calling you, come and deliver the document, but because you promised something that you cannot give, now that is the time you start hiding. It is very important you remain professional and always service your clients. There are so many benefits you're going to get. You're going to get out of this after sales service. So one of our last things in this session, we have the qualities of a good prospect. Not every prospect you're going to find out there that is good. No. Some are there to waste your time. Some are there to just learn something. Some are there and they're not interested, they're interested in you as a person. So you need to pick those aspects. Number 1, availability. When a client is not available, there is nothing that you're going to discuss. If you're meant to life insurance, that's why you're being employed, by the way. Life insurance is sold by human, like you guys sitting down with the client. So if a client just tells you, send me an email, send me a proposal form on my post address, I can tell you, there's nothing is going to convert. Number two, the need. A client is very, who will be very, very interested in your product is the one who has identified the need. If they have the need, they will be very interested in the product. Number three, ability to qualify. There are so many people you're going to find, they have this, but when you add them up, it cannot actually qualify. You've seen someone say, I have a client, he has age 80, but I wanted to sell him a saving plan. I wanted to sell him education policy. This is the time you're going to see if your product are giving up to age 65 or 70. Can this client qualify for this product? Then we have the last one, which is ability to pay. Right, you're going to go and meet clients in the field, meet clients everywhere, but do they have the capacity to pay? Remember, this is a policy for long term. You're going to have a policy for that person have the ability to pay the product. Or this is a guy who is going to come out of excitement. He had his colleagues saying, yeah, it is good. You also, or because he wants to please you, he says, yeah, I'm also going to take for 1 million. Then he pays for 2 months, the policy lapses. You need to check out whether he has the ability to pay. It is very important. So we already looked at these ones. After sales service, what are the importance? We already looked at how it helps you to build a long-term relationship, such customer can always actually give you, if there is no way. So it is very important to connect with a client. Imagine when you have your form, their date of birth, their kid's date of birth. At that point, when you have it on your calendar, and one of the morning or one of the day, and it's someone's children's birthday, or his son's birthday, and then you text a message, happy birthday to Jeremy, please send my greeting. Do you know how much that small thing can add to that client? It is something you can do for only 50 shillings. Something that can continue to after sales service. You need to keep on close. They can always give you referrals and quality referrals, people who are going to convert. That's why when you see there are some people who have been in this industry for 10 years, and right now they're not doing those cold canvassing. They're just actually going through their portfolio, saying, hello, how are you? Where are you? I want to see you. You go to talk to him and like, but can I give you another policy? I think you are a manager, now you are an MD, you're a supervisor now. Can we add another one? Because now things have changed. But how can you do that minus having after sales service? Increase sales revenue for the agent. You as a guy, there's a day that I have seen people that in a week is signing a deal. In a week is signing 2 deals or 3, but they are all coming from the existing portfolio. If you're this guy who is going to leave your clients and don't check on them, you only look at them, and sometimes they can even lapse or they don't pay and you don't remind them at all, that is when you're going to lose out. It's a long-term relationship. You need to keep it alive. And remember, one of the things we talked about is that interpersonal. You need to relate, you need to be a people person. You need to, you get it, you disappear. That marks the end of our session. At this point, I will invite, if there's some questions, you can answer them in a few minutes, and we'll wrap it up. So guys, you can unmute and talk to me. Is there anything that you want to ask?
Thank you so much, Nelson. Nelson, can you hear me?
Or are we good? Yes, I can hear you, Jad.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Nelson, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you, our dear participants, for attending this session. Just in case you have any questions, you can raise your hand. You can raise your hand, or you can unmute. You can even send a message through our chat room. We shall be able to pick all your questions and then respond to them. I have a few issues before we go into Q&A session. There are some participants, Galaxy Grand Prime. Please unmute and tell me your name. Galaxy Grand, please unmute. Yes, what is your name? Kindly tell me.
My name is Nabwani. Nabwani Kalatifa is my name. Sorry, I just joined the class today. I failed to attend yesterday's class.
Okay, your name? Once again, your name? Yes? Please unmute. Your name once again?
Nabwani Kalatifa Nsubuga.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Then we also have Galaxy Tab. Please unmute. Yes, Galaxy Tab. Please unmute. I'm asking you to unmute. Please unmute. And then we also have, okay. Galaxy Tab, please unmute and tell us your name. Okay, over to you, Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Dumba. Members, if you have anything that you want to share, feel free to contribute. This is a session, a discussion. We can always share knowledge. Or if you have anything you're asking, you can be able to pick it up. You can write, you can actually text it, or you can say it, and we'll be able to pick it up.
Yes, thank you, Nelson, for the presentation. Well, my question is, how do you handle presenting along the objection at the same time? There's a scenario where you've met a client and you're trying to present, but a client is also busy objecting you on certain things. So how do you, I would love to have a clarification. Thank you.
So at that point, normally, just like this session, before you can start, you can discuss on how you want to conduct the session. You can discuss to have to discuss the questions or to answer the questions later. So you tell them that if there is anything you note along this session, please note it down. At the end, I will answer all of them, because most of the time they can be asking and you don't happen to remember where you last ended or what you were discussing. So and it might actually also disorganize the rest of the audience, because others are listening in and someone is punching in new ideas, which sometimes they can be hard to answer. So it is always important before you start a session or presentation. It's like those house rules or meeting, like guidelines. There are things you can put out to help you achieve the goals. That we're going to have this. I'm going to take you through. But if you have any question, please remember, put it down. I will have a session to answer all your questions. Yes. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. Then another one is, how do we handle clients during this COVID time?
COVID time has been a very hard one. As I told you, you guys are new to this. This would be a very hard one also. But for the people who have already made their sales, this is the time you start revisiting your portfolio. You start contacting them, checking on them how they are doing. And if they happen to have a client or a friend that is interested in the policy, they can refer you, and that is when you can always contact them. Hard times always bring us together. If you already have the people who already sold to, this is the time you can start calling them, checking on them. But nevertheless, people are now creating accounts on social media, session on YouTube. Then they start discussing. So people follow up and leave their numbers. So there are some people who are out there and they're scared and they just want to have insurance for themselves. And don't be confused. There are some people who have money. There are some people who have needs. And this is also a time for you guys to start concentrating on corporate. Corporate clients are still booking business despite the COVID, because if your client is, let's say, ITC and has a medical policy and is expiring this month, the people or the employees in that scheme, they will still want to have policies. So they will still have to go to hospital. They will still get sick. So they will have to renew the policy. So every time you have corporate clients, for them, they will be always taking cover, because the sessions are done on emails. Please send me the new members. Please revise this quote, So you should be also picking some knowledge how to write emails, how to answer quotations. Yeah, it is very, very important, rather than just concentrating on meeting one-on-one person. Yeah, you need to be versatile and also get into the other. Some people are actually hitting their targets, yeah, using this kind of arrangement. So you can go on social media if you know what you're talking about. If you put yourself out there and they start asking questions, and then you tell them that, there is a guy called Nelson, he works in the head office, he will answer you. That will be the end of it. So when you go there, make sure you have all this knowledge, you can answer all the questions, and you answer them in a manner that does not conflict with the principal or your employer. So people have done Zoom, people have represented, people are signing policy document. A lot of companies have organized to have come up with online proposal forms you fill in, and then they be able to generate. They have tried to waive the condition of doing medicals, sending pictures, and then you sign the document. So some things, it is actually thinking out of the bracket. So I don't know whether also have added to what you know, or you can actually pick something from what I've just said.
Okay, thank you, Nelson.
You're welcome. So we have like now, I think 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Any one question that is burning and you can answer it very fast. We have only 3 minutes.
Nelson.
Hello.
Yes, Dumba.
Kindly
Hello,
check
this is
the
Latifa
chat
speaking.
room. Kindly check the chat room. There are some questions.
Hello.
Hello.
Nelson.
Yes, please.
This is Latifa speaking.
Yes, yes, Latifa.
I'm asking, you mentioned under agency, the relationship between the agent and the principal. This is where you mentioned where the principal has to pay the agent for any cases of indemnity. When does this arise? Because most principals, the few experience I have right now, I've seen they normally only pay caution and regulations, like once, like say, be of a certain amount. That's some like, or maybe give you a shopping voucher. But for the other costs, the principal, I mean for agent unpaid, when does this normalize? The point you did.
Okay, this does actually happen most of the time. Most of the time we do have market activation at companies where you would go and say, today we are camping in Mbale, tomorrow we are going to Gulu. So it happens to have, maybe you have to organize transport, you have to organize transport for the tent and a few of the items, and you go there and you know, you don't have any other person to supply food that is known by the company. So you end up going there and at the consent of the company. So when such sessions actually are done before, you agree before that we're going to have this, but we have a challenge here. We have a challenge for food, we have a challenge for accommodation. Is there any way the company can actually facilitate? You have a lot of clients in that side and you want to bring them on board. How can you help? Then the manager will tell you, will raise a memo, and then they say, this and this, can you go and attend to those clients? We'll be able to collect those bills and we settle. Those things happen so much in market activations, but your unity manager or your manager can be able to have that sorted before you board. So not just to first do the things, then you have to come back and claim for the money. That's why I said everything you do has to be in the contract. So I'm seeing some questions here. One guy received yesterday. I did not receive the question. I'm seeing someone saying, can you please resend? I'm seeing someone saying, well, this is one of the things we were talking about, and people saying, someone saying, thanks Nelson for presentation. I need more clarity on actual authority. Actual authority, we said before you come on board, there has to be an agreement. And someone mute, I can see. Okay, thank you. In actual authority, that is when we have the two ways, the two types of authority, which is number one is express and number two is implied. Now, express, that is when we talked about the normal agreement, because you can come on board and start selling, but where do you get that authority? The authority you're going to have is in that document you've signed, is in that agreement. So when you sign an agreement orally, I mean written, or you agree orally, that is express actual authority. Then when you've been given that right to do, it comes with what we call implied actual authority. There are things that are not being put in the contract, but you're going to do them anyway. Yeah, that is what we call the implied actual authority. So when you're explaining, if they ask, you'll have to have those two put together. I mean, explained clearly. The number one is express. That's when you come up with the agreement. Everything is stipulated in there, your duties, the roles, and your obligations, and the commissions. Everything is put in the contract, either oral or in written. And number two is the implied. Implied, those are things that you carry along with in your activity by the virtue of that you're doing the other one. Yeah. So I don't see any other question in these ones, unless there is anything else. I think Mr. Dumba, you can allow us to end the session. Yeah. So a kind reminder to you guys, every time we go through a session, the notes are going to be shared. Please go through them. If you have questions, you type them somewhere, so the next presenter or the next facilitator can web, and people will be able to pick them up so that you don't be left behind. So now it is 2 days now already covered 2 chapters. Tomorrow will be, the other day will be 3, 4, 5. By the time they get 5, if you're not picking some things behind, things are going to become so many and you will not be able to catch up. So always find time, go through them. If you find any any challenges, please record them somewhere. Very, very important. Otherwise, I wish you the best. Mr. Dumba, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Nelson, for the wonderful presentation and ably answering all questions. Thank you once again, our dear participants, for attending this first session of the day. At this time, you can go enjoy your break at exactly 11. I'll be here waiting for you for fundamentals of insurance. Our facilitator for fundamentals of insurance is already online. Kindly go enjoy your break. We meet at 11. Thank you so much. Bye for now. As you're coming back for fundamentals of insurance, kindly use the same link. As you're coming for fundamentals of insurance, kindly use the same link. It will automatically bring you in our class. Kindly use the same link.